Oh, excuse me everybody, I had to do some things at home. I'm standing in North Chagrin Reservation, beautiful metro parks. If you're from Northeast Ohio, you really need to learn to appreciate what we have. If you're familiar with Cuyahoga County and the metro parks, what we call the Emerald Necklace, absolutely outstanding park facilities, and we're truly blessed in this area to have it. If you're a bicyclist, it is theoretically possible to ride the entire Emerald Necklace. I don't know how many miles that would be, probably close to 50 to 75 miles to go from North Chagrin, where I'm standing at right now. I'm actually standing in front of Buttermilk Falls, all the way to Rocky River. It'd be an incredible journey, but it is possible. I chose the park for a reason. First of all, one, it's just absolutely beautiful. But two, we're kind of away from things. We're kind of away from technology, but we're really not away from technology. What you saw me doing before I started to talk was I was turning on the sprinkler system to my house. And if you are in the IT world, you have to begin to start observing things, and you have to begin to start noticing things and look at the man behind the curtain. I think most of us are familiar with the famous Wizard of Oz, and the wizard or the magician was hiding behind the curtain and he's pulling rods and stuff like that. Well, you as an IT person going down the IT field, whether it be data analytics, application development, cybersecurity, networking, you have to become that man behind the curtain, right? As I've mentioned many times, there's generally two types of individuals in the IT world. First of all, we're all in the IT world, and one type of individual, like you just saw me here, is a consumer of the technology. We use the technology to do things. The other people of the world are providers of the technology, and if you're going down the IT, computer science world, you're going to become providers of the technology. Now, here's what I mean by you have to begin to observe things, and this is critical for your future and actually all our future. I intentionally chose the park because I wanted to get away from technology, but in reality, I am still tethered to the technology. I'm using my cell phone to turn on my sprinkler system at the house. Now, as IT people, I want you to think about what I just said. Something that we are all beginning to take for granted. I basically turned on the sprinkler system to my house on my phone in the middle of a park. And that's critical because in the IT, every part of the IT computer science world is encapsulated by that term that I turned on my sprinkler system from my phone. So let's break it down. We'll start simply with my phone. My phone it's a smartphone, it has intelligence in it. Most smartphones are going to have some form of a Linux operating system. Even if you're dealing with the iPhone does have its own proprietary operating system, but there's elements of the code, there's elements of the iPhone operating system that are Linux or Unix, and you can see that in the agreement sheet. So if you're looking into operating systems and networking, Linux is a formal beast that I think we all have to learn. And there's a lot of background about open source versus proprietary. So I use an iPhone. I know iPhone is a proprietary operating system, but I also know they have open source operating system here. I then used an application, app development. And that application had to be developed by somebody, had to be tested, had to be put onto that iPhone. And in that app, the proprietary app to turn on a sprinkler system, that proprietary app then had to speak to my cellular network. I'm not tethered. I'm not using Wi-Fi right now. I'm not connected to any wall. So the cellular technology and all those cellular towers come into play. Now we're getting into infrastructure. How does my phone connect to those towers? And then once I connect to those towers, we get into IP addressing, because my phone has to have a unique IP address or some kind of unique identifier on the preferred carrier that I want. And then all that information is going to travel through that preferred carrier of my iPhone. It's going to travel across the network, and it's going to go to eventually to a server. It's going to go to the sprinkler system's server. It's not going directly to my house, and that's critical that we understand that. I am not talking directly with my house. I am talking to a server at the sprinkler, the people who developed the Internet of Things sprinkler. So I'm talking to their server. So what did I have to do? I had to create an account. At one point when I set up my sprinkler system, I created an account. I provided my credentials, where my house is, who I am, the ID number, or the, the IP address of my sprinkler system to them. So when I talk to the sprinkler company and I turn it on, I hit their server, they go through their database. And you want to talk massive amounts of database. And now we're getting into data analytics. They're going through their database, they're finding their particular information, they're finding out where my sprinkler is specifically located on the Internet of Things. Now they're broadcasting, not broadcasting, but they're sending out that information over to my sprinkler. And eventually it gets to my network at home. Now I'm dealing with Wi-Fi. My sprinkler is an intelligent device. Anytime you hear the phrase intelligent device, you're still going back, and even though you think it's just Wi-Fi, you're still going back to its, chances are it's a Linux operating system. So at some point, I had to set up my sprinkler to talk to my Wi-Fi. And it told my Wi-Fi, I'm over here, I'm about 40 feet away from you, I'm in the garage, let's communicate. And then my sprinkler system, this little self-contained sprinkler system that has Linux operating system running in it, then talks to its server, and had to go back at one point and talk to its service and say, I'm here, if anybody ever needs me, find me here. Finally, the communication does get to my server, does get to my sprinkler, and my sprinkler turns on a single relay, opens up the pipe, and water is sprinkling. Now, through this whole time, there's another layer that goes on all on top of this. Cybersecurity, or security plus, or some kind of security. And think about all the hoops that we had to, the things that we just think about, hoops that we had to think about. For example, my iPhone is locked with a key. If you don't have the key, you're not getting my iPhone. The application has a password and has a lock if you're not using that. The communication from my phone on the cellular service to across the internet through those routers, all that has to be secure transmission. You know, so the data now has to be secured going to the server. The server that's actually managing all of this has to be secured, because we don't want bad actors getting to that server and maybe finding personal information, or worse yet, doing some kind of ransomware attack on that server. So that server has to be opened up for people like me connecting, say, turn on the sprinkler in my water bed, in my flower beds, but it has to block the people that aren't supposed to be there, because they don't want to be victims of ransomware. Then the communication from that server to the eventual sprinkler has to be secured. The transmission has to be secured. At my house, the Wi-Fi network has to be secured. I had it set up so I don't have neighbors jumping on, you know, the neighborhood kid jumping onto my network. So my network has to, the sprinkler has to. So all of these are layers. And if we break this down, every single degree or track that we implement at Lakeland, whether it be data analytics, cybersecurity, app development, web page development, networking and operating, troubleshooting. I always forget about the people working at the help desk. What happens if I turn on my sprinkler system and it doesn't run? I need proper tech support. Now, the intelligence of the sprinkler system is another interesting area. Again, designing and programming these things. And the intelligence of the sprinkler is well beyond just sprinkle at this time, right? The previous sprinkler system that I had in my house consisted of an analog system. It wasn't connected to anything. And one of the wires going from the analog system ran out of my garage, up the roof, about 30 feet on top of my roof, and there was this little device on top of the roof. And on top of the roof, it was called a float. And if it rained, that float would elevate. and tell the switch, if it's raining, don't water this grass. Why would you water the grass in the middle of the rain? They no longer do that. They no longer rely upon those flows. The server at the sprinkler company, they're in constant contact with the weather services. Now, I'm not sure what weather service they use, but they know specifically the weather in my neighborhood, not the weather in Cuyahoga County, Lake County, weather in Ohio, weather in North America. They know within a couple hundred yards of my house the weather. And then they're talking to the weather, the server is talking to the weather service. The weather service says, it's raining right now in this geographical location. Tell all your customers, not just Nick DeTiro, but tell all your customers, don't water the grass during the rain. The next thing that's absolutely incredible. Multiply that not by me, by multiply that by the thousands and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people that have the similar sprinkler system that I do. That's absolutely incredible. The next thing this sprinkler system built in, again, this gets into app development, this gets into programming devices and stuff like that. When it rains, that system is nice enough to send me an email in the morning saying, hey Nick, I didn't have to water your grass. So now I'm getting emails from my sprinkler system. What does it take for my sprinkler system to do that? Well, basically, again, going back to the server's talking to a weather service. The weather service says, don't sprinkle, don't set the sprinkler off. And why don't you tell your customers that too? So all the people that don't have the sprinkler going off, they're sending emails to. So it's keeping me informed of what's going on. And that's absolutely incredible when you consider, again, the hundreds of thousands of people that are using this technology. So I'm in the middle of the woods and I've turned on a sprinkler system. And I briefly went through what it took for that. And that all was accomplished in under a second. I don't know where the sprinkler company is. I'm approximately probably about 5-10 miles from my house, but that's indifferent. The sprinkler company could be halfway around the world. Less than half a second. And it's going through all that technology and all the layers and everything that are associated with it. And it's absolutely incredible. So I encourage you, whether you are just starting down the IT path and you're taking ITIS 1007, Principles of Information Technology and Computer Science, or you're taking I-10 1205, Networking Plus, or you're taking ITIS 1355, Security Plus, or you're taking the Ethical Hacking course, or you're taking the Forensics course, or you're taking a Data Analytics course. I'm only talking about the courses I'm aware of. The Data Analytics course, or whatever course you are taking, start observing things. Start looking around your neighborhood. Start thinking and stop taking things for granted. When you press that button on your phone and something happens, you as IT people need to start thinking, how did they do that? Because how did they do that will eventually be replaced with how I did that. This is Nick DeTiro. Let's go out and learn something.